Stephen Roberts.
Hey, McGraw. Good morning.
Good. Thank you very much. Good to talk to you. Good to hear your voice. Let's first start with Hillary Clinton. And I kind of pride myself on keeping up with the news and following what's going on, but I'm completely confused and lost on the latest email scandal. It seems like one runs into the next and runs into the next. Anything new with her email scandal?
No, but that's the problem, that it's not new, that this has been out there for a long time. In fact, long before she even ran for president, this notion, as you and I have talked many times, this notion that both Clintons don't quite play by the rules. You know, Bill got the nickname Slick Willie for a reason. And this is her biggest vulnerability. Bernie Sanders exploited it in the primaries. And Trump is going to exploit it in this election. Now, each one of these emails, in and of itself, there's no smoking gun, there's no bombshell. The notion that big givers somehow wanted something back for their money is hardly revolutionary or criminal. But it adds to this notion that the Clintons didn't quite play by the rules, and that's why it's potentially damaging.
Yeah, all right, we got that going on. And it seems like, at least for the last week or so, since his new team is intact, at least there's at least some type of game plan out there on the Trump campaign.
Well, yes, and the game plan is forced on him by necessity. His pollsters, particularly Kellyanne Conway, his new campaign manager, is a smart strategist, and she looks at the numbers, and she's told him flat out, you cannot win if your core base is only angry white men. So in the last week, they've tried to do kind of this cosmetic makeover by using words like humane and fair to describe his immigration policies. Those are the words you're going to hear repeated over and over again on Wednesday when he makes a big speech in Arizona. But he's got a really tough problem because his core supporters love his hard line. You know, they chant at rallies, build a wall, throw them out. And how does he keep those people happy by, and at the same time, changing his tone to the point where he doesn't seem quite as mean-spirited to female voters, and particularly better educated white women who have clearly been drifting to Clinton, in part because they look at his rhetoric on immigration, say he's going to tear families apart, he's going to throw out people who have been taxpayers and good citizens, and they've been turned off by that rhetoric. So you're going to try to see on Wednesday a balancing act. How does he keep the hardliners happy and yet soften at least the tone, so that these better educated white women are not quite so put off?
One of the interesting things that I don't think is getting reported as much as it should is that every time he goes to a place, very few local politicians show up and sort of roll out the red carpet for him. He's doing this sort of on his own without other Republicans in these places he's stopping off at.
Well, look, a lot of local Republicans have a better political eye than he does. You know, he won the primaries with 41% of the Republican vote, and he won it by defying demography and running a very hardline campaign to maximize the votes of disenchanted white voters. But a lot of other Republicans step back and say, that might win you a primary. It's not going to win you a general election. It's not going to keep the House. It's not going to keep the Senate. We're now in a very different political landscape. And so they've backed away from Trump because they understand that the attitudes that won him the primaries are not going to play nearly as well in a general election where the electorate is very different. You take just one state like Georgia, where in the primaries he could run very much to the right. But the electorate in Georgia, the general election electorate in Georgia, is over 30% black. That's a very different landscape than a Republican primary. And that in North Carolina, the electorate is over 20% black. In Arizona and New Mexico and Colorado, Hispanic votes are extremely important. So one of the reasons why a lot of locals are not embracing Trump is because they actually are looking at the political numbers a little more realistically than he is.
Come Wednesday, how is he going to walk that tightrope between build the wall and throw everybody out and round them up, and we need to do it humanely? That's a tough tightrope to walk.
It's very tough to walk, and I don't think it's going to work because he runs a big risk. You know, his core supporters, at the heart of their of his appeal has been he tells it like it is. He's not politically correct. He's not a politician. He's a real person. They want clarity. They want the strength that he has projected. Now, in the last week, everything's been muddled. Everybody, he's gone back and forth. His advisors can't even explain what he's really going to say. And so that very clarity that has been a part of an appeal has been dimmed a little bit. And I think in the end, a makeover of Donald Trump is not going to work. He's been campaigning for over a year. He's been a prominent national figure for many years. It's not as if he's an unknown who's just introducing himself to the American people. I think most people have formed a pretty clear impression of Donald Trump, both positive and negative. I think it's going to be very hard for him to change the basic trajectory of the campaign.
Breaking news here. Stephen Roberts says a makeover will not work, but a comb-over will work. Steve Roberts, have yourself a good day. Thanks for checking in.
Okay, pal.
You got it. 7:45, Big 550 KTRS. John Beal Roofing, ladies and gentlemen.